All right, we are now live. Okay. Um, so this week we were, well, I guess for this group discussion time, it was the Andreessen Horowitz case. Um, so far we've been learning business models or focusing on business models of startups and how they've been doing it. Today we're going to examine a business model that didn't. Oh wait, sorry. No, I was thinking of last case study. So this one's in a mature industry. It's a company that's trying to get into the venture capital markets within the IT world. So we're gonna go ahead and discuss a few things about this particular company. Um, at this point in 2009, do you guys think that the VC industry was attractive for this company? Think it was a smart move?
I think it was. Um, I mean, the things that they mentioned because they had, been part in so many different venture or many businesses before. Um, that's what made it attractive to them. But then, I think to me, you know, imagining putting myself in their shoes, that would be pretty intimidating. Knowing that the most successful companies own, was it 90% of the market share, or was it 80?
It was like 10% of the VCs got 90% of the returns.
Yeah, and so I don't know. I thought that was like that would be a really intimidating factor. That would discourage me, but yeah.
Well, I thought there was that, and also the fact that in 2009 it didn't really seem like there was all that much money being poured in um, to the VC markets, especially because, well, not VC markets, but any of the VC um, things, because that was right after the market crashed, and a lot of people were really scared,
Yeah.
and especially with, oh wait, no, that's the one bubble. Let's see, where was it? I thought there was somewhere where it talked about some of the numbers from 2009. Oh yeah. So what I wrote in my write up to in answer to that question was that it really wasn't that attractive of an industry just because it had contracted and it seemed like the industry was continuing to contract and also condense into just a few VC firms, and so it kind of made it difficult to squeeze in there because at least from my perspective, it would make it seem um, like there were even fewer companies making the most amount of money. There's a quote in the case study where it said a 2012 Kauffman Foundation report noted, and it was talking about over the last while, venture capital has delivered poor returns for more than a decade. So since early 2000s, it had been pretty bad returns, and then this company decides, hey, we're going to get into this business and try to make a whole awful lot of money in a contracting industry that's given poor returns. I don't know. What do you guys think?
That's right. I remember because they mentioned in the the article too that um, there were a lot of online. Sorry, I can't remember the exactly what it's called, but there's a lot of ways that small businesses could receive funding through internet websites like Kickstarter, things like that,
Mm-hmm.
which kind of got rid, like it's slowly getting rid of the need for venture capitalist firms.
Well, and along those lines, that are also mentioned in the case study that those types of uh, those types of fundraising come with no strings attached, whereas VC firms, you got plenty of strings attached. You got profit sharing. You've got they want you to run your business, in a certain way because they want to have the most likely outcome that you're going to be successful and they're going to make money. So, what was the competition like at that time?
I mean, I think we kind of already touched on that a little bit, the you guys, because the competition was like you had to be top five or else you weren't going to really succeed or really make any money. So, I mean, probably the toughest competition as you can really get.
Yeah, and where was it? They had mentioned a few of the other VC firms and how well they had done, and that what about, let's see, you guys remember what the typical fate was of people that tried to enter that industry?
Yeah, didn't they go out of business within the first, I mean, couple of years or so?
I think I remember it saying something like within the first 5 years or something like that.
Yeah, yeah, they go out of business pretty quick. You know, going back to what it was, you know, with only those several firms that owning 80% of the market share. I think that's. I mean, if so, I don't know. That impressed me.
All right, let's see. Well, we kind of already went over that. All right, with all these entrenched incumbents of VCs, and then the catch-22 of it being kind of a difficult industry in which to succeed, what silver lining did this company see? Like, what was the opportunity?
So yeah, they saw I guess a bunch of the other investors were really underestimating the growth potential of the consumer internet. So they saw like all those internet companies and stuff like that, and if they were able to invest with those companies, then they could see a huge growth. Plus, I think they had a background or something in tech. I forget exactly what it was, but yeah,
One of the co-founders, I think, worked for Netscape.
yeah,
Well, and the thing I had noticed was um, they also saw the potential to create a VC firm that was unlike any other, where they focused a lot more interconnectivity and then having specialists and allowing others to use their network without just needing or without benefiting them financially. Because there were a couple examples, like they had their HR person that they hired become friends with 10 to 20,000 engineers and would help them find jobs whether or not it was with their portfolio companies, because their aspect, which to me goes toward a long-term perspective with long-term success, is that they decided to help them out because maybe one day that engineer, that individual would start a new tech company and they would want to go to them first because, hey, I've had a positive experience with them. So I think they also saw an opportunity to create a business unlike any other that would be more successful.
yeah. And then in their other companies, they dealt with venture capitalists a lot, so they knew like all the things that venture capitalists did that were like really stupid and really annoying. So they knew what not to do and how to better their own venture capitalist
Hmm.
company.
Well, and I remember in the case study they actually mentioned some of the things that they didn't like the fact that the office was completely silent and almost nobody was there because they were all chasing deals, and they didn't really focus on having that high energy, positive environment.
Yeah, I think one of them was like a lot of venture capitalists, I guess, were late to the meetings. So then in their company, if somebody was late, then it was like a $10 fine or something like that.
Hmm. Well, and I also like too that they would, um, in a way, do market research with those clients or those people that were trying to pitch their companies to them. They'd send them off with a little card with, I think it was what, 5 questions,
Yeah.
asking, how they felt, how comfortable they felt, how well they were received, and and things like that. I know it's in the exhibits. I forgot. Questions were.
Yeah, and then I think off those they were like, because they would send those to people that they said no to investing, and they'd give like a reason why. And I think one of their questions like, would you consider us in investing in the future? And I think it was like, I don't know, I don't have the numbers right in front of me, but I think it was like 70% or something said that they would.
Mm-hmm. So the 5 questions were on a scale of 1 to 5. How long did it take for you to get a meeting? How were you treated during a meeting? How quickly do we get back to you? How satisfying was our response? And would you recommend Adreessen and Horowitz to your friends? Okay. Why is it that A16Z specifically targeted first-time technical co-founders?
So there's one in the exhibits that shows it too. That I guess most great technical companies were built by the co-founders, technical co-founders that were the CEOs, not like a new CEO that was brought in.
Mm-hmm.
And then so yeah, the founders were running today some of the most promising companies that were going on at that time.
Well, and from my perspective, it seemed to me like they thought that the original co-founders, especially the technical ones, they had a passion for the product and a passion for what they were doing, and they wanted to see success. And to me, I don't really think it would be that difficult to train an individual, especially someone that's that passionate about their business and product. I don't think it'd be that difficult to teach them how to teach them the leadership skills necessary for a growing company.
Yeah.
That was just my perspective. All right, how's the cost of tech startups impacted the industry, the venture capital industry?
Sorry, what was the question again?
Question was, how has the cost of tech startups impacted the VC industry?
Hasn't it lowered? Is that, sorry if you guys, I'm like, there's a lot of noise in the background, but didn't it lower it because this is as technology has advanced, there's been more and more ways for entrepreneurs to receive funding for whatever product it is that they're selling or business they're starting.
Mm-hmm. Well, and it was also, if I remember correctly, they talked about how now people can get websites for free. And then, like you had mentioned earlier, the angel or the like GoFundMe pages and things like that, where people can just ask the market, "Hey, if you like my idea, please donate money, no strings attached." So that makes it more difficult. And they were saying in the case study how usually those companies that took that path ended up seeking VC funds in later in the process rather than seeking seed funds from VCs. They turned toward those others, and even some round A funding, or sorry, Series A funding. They sought elsewhere because they didn't need a whole awful lot of money, and they were able to find it somewhere other than venture capitals with all the strings.
Yeah, and like another thing too is that to go along with no strings attached, they the way of it's called crowdfunding. Is that it? I
Yeah,
think it was, yeah, crowdfunding. With the no strings attached, like I don't know if you guys ever checked out the Kickstarter app, but I think it's like a really cool kind of way to fund something. Because I
mm-hmm.
know, like, depending on the amount that you donate for, the business to start up, they'll send you the product. It's like you buy it. Um, but yeah, like there's this guy out here in Rexburg, and I don't know if you guys have seen this one either, but he creates these rings, like wedding rings that glow. Have you guys seen those?
Sorry, say it again. You cut out.
Oh, sorry. He there's this guy in Rexburg, and he got a lot of money from Kickstarter funding because the rings that he creates, they glow, and
The
that's like,
those
yeah,
are
go ahead.
the carbon rings.
Yeah,
Yeah, I've heard of that.
yeah, and like the guy here, he received a ton of funding, and so whoever pitched in a certain amount of money, he would send them a ring at a discounted price before they were released. And it's just these types of offers that make crowdfunding so much more attractive to people. As time keeps going on, it'll be a little bit more difficult for venture capitalists to find potentially successful businesses.
Yeah, crowdfunding's awesome. Let's see. Oh, I kind of already went over that. Okay, there's like 4 questions in a row that essentially ask the same thing. So we talked in there about VC firms and how they usually function, where they first source deals, they pick them, and then they do everything they can to make them win. How does A16Z's business model influence these abilities compared to other VC firms? Okay, well, it's all right. We'll move on. Maybe this will help. All right, think of Source as the ability to get founders to come in the door seeking money. How does the way that AZ or A16Z treats its founders differ from the way that traditional VCs treats them?
They really do.
Oh no, go ahead.
Oh, okay. They really get to know the companies that come to them, or they really like do the research for them, try to like get to know them. You mentioned how they do their surveys to make sure they're being satisfied with how they're working together, and yeah, that's pretty much it.
Yeah, like to go along with that too. Mentions entrepreneurs, like the two things, like new entrepreneurs, the two things that they value the most is advice and both of which A16 provided.
So he's probably going through a dead signal area.
Provided,
You're cutting off a bit.
I don't think he can hear us. I know that because I've done that before, having to do a meeting on my phone and then
Yeah.
a lot of the entrepreneurs.
man, that's rough. Well, let's hope he's still there. Hey, if you can hear us, we can't hear you. You're going through a bad signal area. All right. So one thing I really appreciated about it is I think it was at the beginning of the case, they talked about how they were having that little get together party thing with everybody inside their building. And then they seem to go out and to host events for different reasons and stuff, to have companies come to them. And it seemed like they did more to draw companies to them rather than going out to try to source those deals and to go push their VC funds onto the market. Rather, it was, hey, let's just be an awesome company, so that way through word of mouth we'll get more companies coming to us, which is really smart because it saves a lot of time and money. So do you think this will increase, decrease, or have no effect on the number of potential deals that they see compared to their competition?
I think that will increase because they're kind of building their own reputation.
I also think it'd increase the quality as well, not just the quantity of deals, but the quality of deals, because you work with some good companies, and obviously VCs seek out the most viable candidates that are the most likely to succeed. And you'd think that they would know other people and other companies from either past experiences or former employers, things like that, who are starting to do their own companies, who they know personally would be a good fit for their VC firm. So I think it wouldn't only just increase the quantity, but also the quality.
Mm-hmm.
All right, so the next step, picking. How will this change if this company begins to fire CEOs because they're not performing well? I think that's more geared toward. Oh yeah, that question's more geared toward the number of deals and types of deals and stuff. Will it increase, decrease, or have no effect on the number of potential deals? I personally think it would actually decrease it, because they built a reputation of doing their best to keep the technical co-founders within the company and allowing them to run the company, to run a good product, and then how entrepreneur friendly their VC is, rather than, all right, okay, you served your purpose, we're kicking you out, we're going to hire somebody else. You can stay on as a programmer or whatever, but see ya. I think that would really tarnish their image to the market, and it would make a lot of people turn away from them.
Yeah, that'd go against like everything that they stand for as they're starting their company, and they're like their motto of their company.
Mm-hmm. Well, and I think it would make a lot of the companies that they already have in their portfolio feel betrayed. Hey, you know what? This is the basis upon which this whole agreement was built, but all of a sudden they're firing CEOs for just because. I mean, at least me, if I saw other companies doing that, I would probably pull out of the deal as soon as I possibly could.
Yep.
So how's the operating team within them, or within A16Z, source, pick, and win? Does it increase the odds of getting more high quality deal flow? Why do you think so?
So I think we kind of talked about how they source, but like when it comes to the operating team, it seems like they do a lot more for their companies than other venture capitalists will do. With the network that they have set up, that they're gonna not like be a crutch to them, it's said in there, but they're gonna just really like help them and provide like suggestions or training where needed, but just gonna give them this huge network and be able to plug them into it so that they have every opportunity they can possibly have to succeed. So I think that obviously is gonna be able to help them have more quality investors.
To add to that, I chose, which I don't think my hypothesis was one of the pre-poll things, but I chose to double their assets rather than continue down the path they were on, but to double it, just because that culture of their operating team and then their entire company was a lot more geared toward the long term and working a whole awful lot on CRM. Because when you have, at least from my perspective, when you have those things, you're bound to have long-term success. I had something like, I don't know, 10 quotes I took from the case study to back up my assertion that they have the proper mindset. like they were, and the overall sense I got of the way that A16Z works is they want to teach a man to fish rather than give him a fish, like a lot of VCs want to do. Hey, let's give you all this money. Let's give you the technical know-how. All right, I'm going to kick you out as CEO, throw in a CEO that we like, and then grow the business from there, IPO, and we're gone. To me, it seemed more like they wanted to help build each team up, give them the skills that they were lacking, and to support them rather than to push them, if that makes sense.
Yeah.
I agree with that.
Let's see. That's an obvious question. Okay, we kind of just went over those. All right, so put yourself in the shoes of Andreessen and Horowitz. You must decide whether or not to seek to double your assets under management. Vote as a group. The decision must be unanimous. Consider the following as you decide. How many portfolio companies can one general partner reasonably support? I think in the case study it said 10.
Yeah.
Well, 10 was the goal that they wanted to. I think they said they could do more, but it would give them less time to really work to support the companies. Are there any economies of scale in this business? And then will you have to hire more operating team people? If so, will the partners actually make more money for doubling their assets, or will all the additional profits go to hire more people? So we could, I guess, take a moment to think about those, or we could vote now if everybody already has their mind made up. I don't know. I guess we go and take a vote. I say that they should double their assets. What do you guys think?
Yeah, I'd agree that they should probably double their assets.
And then the last vote.
Sorry, I was looking over some stuff. I agree that they should double their assets as well.
Okay. Yeah, I found it. I don't know whether, to me, I don't really think the profit would be as big a deal. I mean, if you think about it, if you're going to have more companies, even though you're going to hire more people, you're most likely going to have more profits. Your profit should go up linearly, at least you would think. But yeah. So we've only been on here for half an hour, but we kind of went through and covered all of the questions for the week, or for this case study. So personally, I don't think it's a big deal if we end early, especially when we had one team member that all of a sudden found out about a family function that she didn't know about, and then the other one driving around cell phone signal. So before I give a summary, do you guys have anything you want to add? Anything you thought was awesome or should be mentioned?
I don't have anything.
All right. For some reason, I thought there's something else I wanted to say or do. I will try to get. Well, I'll get this time stamped and sent out, or the link through email. That way, you guys can have it for the post discussion poll. And then, just don't forget to do your reflection paper and stuff before Monday morning at 8 a.m. Mountain Time. All right, so I'll go ahead and start the summary. We spoke about A16Z, the Andreessen Horowitz case. We a group, those who left because we had one member who had something come up, couldn't get to the meeting at the last minute, and then another member who was on his cell phone and lost signal, so he got dropped from the call. But of those, of the group members who were left, we did unanimously that they should double their assets under management because they have the culture especially the way that they treat clients, and not just the companies within their own portfolios, but those who are not, and even individuals in Silicon Valley who don't really have any skin in the game, especially with their VC, which is geared toward their long-term success. We also felt that they treated their own portfolio companies pretty well. They were more teaching them how to fish rather than catching them a fish. That way they could be supported. Thought it was an excellent idea that they kept the current CEOs, the technical founders, in the CEO position and tried to help them with learning how to build and to manage a growing company. We felt that they did a pretty good job entering the market at a difficult time and then creating a company built around a different concept as to how a VC should work, especially with the way that they source picked and helped the companies to win. Kind of everything they did for a VC firm was different. Even their office, as was mentioned in the case study, was different than others. We felt that this was the best idea and really helped their company see the short-term success that they had already seen, especially with getting their name out and moving in with a PR rather than keeping quiet like most companies had done. Really helped their market awareness. So that's the summary of kind of what we talked about today. You guys, I guess, have a good night, and for those who are going to be attending priesthood session, stay awake. Have a good time. All right. Well, if you guys don't have anything else, I'm going to let you guys go. I got to get kids ready and stuff so I can head that way.
Sounds good. Thank you for hosting.
Yeah, thank you for hosting and leading.
Hey, no problem. I figure we'll just be in email contact to find out who's going to host and lead for Wednesday next week.
Yeah.
All right. Y'all have a good night.
You
and a
too.
good weekend. See ya.
See ya.